Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Q&A with us, the British Fist. This is
Coaching.
Q&A 233 with me, Mr. Parkin, and this guy sitting next to me is wearing a very oddly coloured T-shirt today. It's none other than NJ People.
What's up?
And of course, if you want to ask us questions, please do in the comment section below. We have a lot of questions in front of us, but we always like to have more questions from you guys. Should we go straight onto this one then? MMMM. That's the name. Any views on the Divas Revolution? I think they tried to capitalize on the Women's World Cup and NXT by bringing up 3 women and throwing them in groups. It clearly hasn't worked. You have Paige nearly beat Sasha Banks in a minute 40, who is the best on the roster. In my opinion, there is no revolution. They based it off women who have been killing it for years, like Serena Williams and Ronda Rousey. Before I go off on one, I'll just go back to the question and ask your thoughts. Yes, you did go off on one there, and pretty much what we would have done. The Divas Revolution is a load of shit. It's just WWE's way of trying to paint a picture which clearly isn't there. I mean, in NXT it was a little bit different because you actually gave them time, you actually gave them semi-main events, you actually gave them important storylines and actually give them good matches. Whereas in the WWE main roster, yeah, I know they've recently main evented Raw in a promo segment, but what have they really done that was any different to the Divas before that? Not that much. Yes, they may be having better matches, and yeah, people may love the characters because they've been on NXT. For more hardcore fans, that's great. But what's really changed? Not all that much.
I like the fact they brought up actual, proper, hardcore, enjoyable style divas, women wrestlers to Raw, which it was needing because we're having the same old matches, same old divas. Now we've got a little bit more variety, more favoritism here. So there's a little bit more excitement. But as for the match type, match style, it is pretty much the same old thing. There's so much they could do. Submission matches with the type they've got. Probably stretch out and do hardcore anywhere falls. Because the style of divas they've got now with the 3 new ones, they could have done so much more than what they're giving us now.
And why did they have to introduce them in groups? I never really understood that. And also, what stories are they doing with these divas? Are they really doing any stories that are captivating audiences? I mean, the ratings have been going down quite a lot. Does that suggest to you that people really aren't interested in such things as the Divas Revolution? You could blame the rating on many other things, but the Divas are part of the show nonetheless.
I think, to be honest, it's like the tag team division. I don't see anything dramatically changing. Bringing in 3 new divas could have created new feuds, but they basically concentrating on one diva at a time.
Yeah. That's really all our thoughts on the Divas Revolution. We'll have another Divas Revolution question coming up in the next 5 or so minutes, and we'll probably just give the same answer there. But Robert Hernandez, a good question here. Is it difficult to comment on WWE now if you don't watch the product anymore? We don't watch. I mean, I don't watch any wrestling anymore, so you could count that question to any wrestling. It is somewhat difficult to comment on WWE because I don't watch it. I'm not watching it for myself. I form a lot of my opinions of what I hear off other people, such as podcasts like the Solo Monster, the Don Tony Kevin Castle Show, Wrestling Soup, the Gerwick Report, and things like that. I watch Vince Russo's videos on YouTube sometimes, and I'm basing a lot of my opinions and thoughts off what they're giving me. I do keep up with the WWE, etc. I do look at NoDQ.com and newsworthy sites, etc. I do see clips from Raw on Facebook and what happened. For example, that thing that happened between Wayne Rooney and Wade Barrett. Because I'm a Man United fan, I kind of had to see that one. And Wayne Rooney's pretty big over here.
Is he?
So I do see, well, he is. He's not in height, but he is in terms of a personality in English football. Okay. But I mean, it is difficult for me to give my thoughts. I can give my thoughts on history and stuff, but as for the current product, yeah, it can be quite difficult. But I mean, you watched Raw for a bit longer than I did. I know you don't watch it as much now, so this is why generally I try and veer towards your opinion when we're dealing with current stuff that I haven't really seen.
I'm going to say this. It's because of this questioning in a way why we get bashed. Like, we're making videos, we're talking about products, we're bashing storylines, and people are saying, "Oh, but you don't watch the product. How can you bash it?"
That's why, because there's zero storylines and there's zero reason to watch. I mean, not to interrupt you, NJ, I do apologise, but what reason do I have to watch Raw from 1 to 4 a.m.? There isn't one, and clearly that's the same for a lot of other people because the ratings are going down to a 2.2 and a 2.3. Less than 3 million viewers. Last year on the Raw they did in the UK, the rating was a 2.9. This year it was a 2.2 or a 2.3. Just goes to show you that it's not just myself and people like that are tuning out. It's many other casual fans that are also tuning out. So I'm sorry, but the facts are there.
That's pretty much like I give my best opinion. I try and give what I see because I don't watch SmackDown. Yes, I could miss the odd Raw. So there are parts I cannot give my full opinion on. But like Mr. Parkins said, there are many people still talking about the product, so we still get a good picture.
I mean, you still talk to people, don't you?
Quite a bit.
About the brand. You get involved in a lot of live streams and stuff. So you've been watching the product somewhere. But I think what you got to remember here, and again, apologies for interrupting you while you were talking. I just had to bring this up. You're looking at a guy here who's been watching Raw every week since the late '90s. It would have to take a lot for NJ to stop watching Raw. And NJ, how many times have you watched Raw in the last 3 or 4 months? Would you say, of your own accord?
It's gone down a lot. Yeah, I still do live stream. I do it because I enjoy doing the live streaming aspect. But watching the show, I could be doing something else.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, please.
Renegade Man 83. Is the Wyatt family similar to Raven's flock from the WCW days? I don't remember too much about Raven's flock, but I would have to imagine that based on the name of Raven's flock, and I know the Raven character, that they would be somewhat similar. But I can't really 100% say that without seeing a bit more of the Ravens flock first. But it sounds like they are somewhat similar, in my opinion, in terms of characters. But I think the Wyatt family, from what I've seen of the Wyatt family, are just, in my opinion, on a totally different level in terms of, in terms of the promos and the group itself and the legitimacy of the group, etc., and what it can be in the wrestling business, and is compared to what the Ravens flock would have been, which is basically like a mid card faction.
I got some aspect of the Ravens stuff, but to be honest, I think you may see some similarity with the video package and the way Bray Wyatt is and his promos, but I think that the way they're building the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt, they're trying to outdo it, make it so better and different.
If John Cena didn't get the rapping gimmick, would he be relevant today? He was bland and boring before that gimmick. Well, he was always kind of like the chosen one for WWE. I mean, even in his early days, they did see him as like a big deal. Otherwise he wouldn't be debuting against Kurt Angle on SmackDown. But to be honest, he got over because of the rapping gimmick. And if he didn't have the rapping gimmick and he stayed as he was, which, let's face it, was pretty bland and boring at the time, no, I don't think he would have got over. So the rapping gimmick, in my opinion, has made him what he is today.
I think of all the kind of characters we had during that time, having John Cena with something different, something that was actually catching on with the WWE universe, I think that's strongly got him over because he was different. He was connecting with fans.
He was edgy.
Yeah, so I think it would have got over, maybe not as quick, or unless the WWE pushed him too fast. But I think the rapping gimmick definitely brought him up.
And if it wasn't for that period in time, he would never have got over to the point where the fans were cheering him, where he'd be a babyface.
Well, he had competition as well against like Batista, Brock Lesnar.
At the time, yes.
Yeah, so there's a chance he would have got over, but I think it would have been delayed.
I mean, who really knows at the end of the day? Probably would have been delayed. Who knows? It's happened.
Yeah.
Let's not think about it that way. Is the Divas Revolution a waste of time? I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. I just think that it's something that was poorly done, that they could have made into a really big deal, but they kind of messed it up, really.
I don't think it's a waste of time because they are getting TV time. We are getting more than one Divas match a week now. So I think it's made some progress, but I think in the long run it's going to die out.
At least a lot of people don't see the Divas matches their piss break anymore. They actually are interested to see some of the matches because of the talent that they've got from NXT and what they've seen of them on an NXT takeover shows.
That's true.
I suppose. Is there anyone that could be the next face of the company, knowing Roman Reigns might be a fail? No, not really. I mean, you look at the roster. I mean, who have you got?
Follow! The buzzer!
Yeah, but the face of WWE,
Yep, I think they could
the
push him all the way.
spokesman for the company, the top
Oh,
guy.
Talksman. No, you
No, I mean,
talk.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't think there's a character there that could come anywhere near a John Cena for the WWE that could be anywhere near a draw that John Cena would be. If there was, why are they bringing in part timers? Why do they have to bring Brock Lesnar? Why do they have to bring back Undertaker? Why do they have to bring back Batista for a small period of time? You know, if there was the next face of the company, barring Roman Reigns, as he's the only one I feel WWE will push to that point, then we would have seen him by now.
This is the thing. The face of the company, you might mean like the good guy, but I don't see why I can't have the top heel. You know.
Well, I mean
Like
top
Triple H
guy. I do
was.
mean top guy in the company. I just don't see anyone in the.
Because we've got Reigns and John Cena, like the good guys.
Yeah.
I would like to see like Triple H in the past. You know, he was up there. Austin was up there as a face. Brock was up there as a
Well,
face.
is there anyone at that level that could be a top heel apart from maybe Bray Wyatt potentially?
Owens. Yeah, I wish if they
Kevin
pushed him
Owens.
top
You
heel.
really think WWE will push him all the way as a top heel?
I wish.
I highly doubt it. RFV089. Mr. Parkin, thoughts on David De Gea staying with Man United and United signing Anthony Martial from Monaco? Very glad that De Gea stayed with Man United. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, probably the best player we have, barring Wayne Rooney. As for United signing Anthony Martial from Monaco, at first I think a lot of people were a little bit worried about it because of the amount of money spent, but I think that after seeing him prosper in the Man United team the way he has done, and you know how well this guy could be considering he's only 19, could be a pretty good signing for WWE. Sorry, Man United in the next 10 years. Sorry, I've got wrestling on the brain in these Q&A. Sometimes it's hard to answer football questions. How many hours and days per week do you guys work? Well, I do. Well, I work from about 11 till 5 days a week. So that's 30. I believe that's 30 hours, which isn't that much. But then again, in the morning, I also cycle 130 miles a week, so that kind of cuts into that time. But there you go. And I work for my dad, so I kind of get away with that. 11 till 5. What about you? How many hours? Do your hours vary a lot?
Well,
or?
I've got my, something you put on CV and stuff, which is pretty much between part-time and full-time. And then I've got, my caring job that I've had for many, many years that fills up the rest of the time. So most of the time I'm just work-related. Hour-wise, I just keep working.
Just keep working. Yeah. How stupid is it that the American Wolves have been in TNA for 18 months and have just recently captured their 5th tag team championship title? It just shows you how little tag teams there are in TNA. I mean, like I said, we haven't watched TNA for ages, but the American Wolves were probably the most legitimate tag team they had at the tail end of when we were watching it.
Yes.
They're kind of like the Briscoe brothers of ROH, aren't they? In the sense that they just always seem to put the title on them because there's no other fucking tag teams that they could put the title on. I mean, who else could they put the tag team title on in TNA?
Pretty much, they had to bounce off feud or get boring.
Yeah.
Oh, the Wolves are being champion for 2 years. Oh, so they had to bounce off to some other tag team.
Attila Getzi. Do you see Kurt Angle returning to WWE in 2016 when his contract expires? I'm not sure when this question was asked, but as far as I know, he signed some sort of Bellator contract. I would have liked to have seen Kurt Angle return to WWE at some point and maybe go into the Hall of Fame and have maybe 1 or 2 more matches with the company. But I'm not sure at this point now it's going to happen. I mean, if his contract with TNA expired, if he was going to go to WWE, he would have done it then, but he hasn't.
Kurt Angle to go back home, he did a long, many stuff in TNA, but to me watching him, WWE is his home. I would have liked him to come back, but without the likely candidates of who you would like to see him face, like Daniel Bryan, and with him wanting a lighter schedule now, I think the WWE, instead of having him being another part-timer, I can see why he's gone somewhere else.
And also, I think the important thing here is we have to take into account Kurt Angle's health. He's had a lot of injuries, and I think it's about time he kind of had a break from wrestling and healed a bit from his injuries, so he could actually live to see his daughter's wedding or whatever. So I mean, I think it's a good thing that he's not wrestling right now, and he's more on the training side, I believe, for Bellator.
And that basically means no more cage matches, Angle.
Doing moonsaults off the top for no fucking reason.
Terrible.
What are your thoughts on Facebook possibly adding a dislike button? Do you think YouTube should remove the dislike button? I know that it takes away from the freedom of expression, but it seems that people just abuse for the fun of it. I mean, with a dislike button, the problem with it is, I mean, there's no reason for the dislike. You could, like you said, you could just abuse it, and I guess that's one of the things that I didn't really like about YouTube in a sense. I mean, it didn't really bother me. I mean, likes and dislikes, so what? As long as we're getting views, we weren't that bothered. As long as we were trying to, as long as people were watching the video, who cares? But a lot of people would just dislike the video for no fucking reason, or they would dislike the video because we put a thumbnail in there, even though it clearly said review in the title. So that is a bit annoying. As for Facebook, though, I couldn't give a fuck. I never like stuff on Facebook. I don't really see the reason why people like stuff on Facebook. I don't know why the feature's even there. So adding a dislike button, people have been all for it, and a lot of people have said that they would like a dislike button to counteract that like button because it's pointless. But again, I just think the whole like dislike thing is pointless on Facebook.
On YouTube, yeah, I think it's more about leaving a comment, getting a reply, end of.
Yeah.
On Facebook, the like feature I'm okay with because it shows that someone's at least seen that comment or that video. Disliking it, Facebook are meant to be anti-bullying and stuff. So if someone's gonna sort of go onto your page and dislike everything, there might be people out there that'll be offended by that, upset by that. So I think Facebook adding that, I don't know why they would see that as a worthy thing unless someone's putting hate or some horrible video, but generally I wouldn't do it.
Do you think WWE made the wrong move by not making Seth Rollins win both matches at Night of Champions? Was that? I'm assuming when he lost to Cena and then retained against Sting. No, not necessarily because I mean Seth Rollins. I don't know why he had two titles in the first place. I know it was a both titles on the line match of him and Cena at SummerSlam, but like, how could you have him in a compelling US title feud and a compelling WWE Championship feud? I didn't mind him losing to John Cena because it meant that he could continue being WWE World Champion and focusing on that rather than both the belts. And you'd have to include. There's just so many complications of it. So I didn't mind him losing to John Cena, and then they could go off in a direction with John Cena, and then Seth Rollins retaining the championship. I thought that was fine, to be honest.
I think, to be honest, I'm not just going to see a hater. I was actually wanting Seth Rollins to win both matches because at that time, in my mind, and possibly storyline wise, Seth Rollins was proving that he's the best. He can accomplish anything. So if he beat John Cena, went on beat Sting, that would have made the next match even bigger because obviously he would have retained the championships, beat John Cena. I just think it would be more beneficial.
Thoughts on WWE booking Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell match? I can understand why WWE wanted to do this. I mean, they're trying to bring some more buys to their WWE network and for people to watch Hell in a Cell. I understand it. I just was personally not interested in it. I mean, I think we got past the point where watching an Undertaker match is like a special thing now, especially when he's up against Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell match. And Hell in a Cell matches just aren't what they used to be. I know they bled in the match, but I didn't actually see the match, but I can only imagine it was your cookie cutter Hell in a Cell match with a little bit of blood. Am I correct?
To be honest, the match itself, I thought it was very nicely done. Brilliant, weapon usage, apart from the kendo sticky stuff. But the blood effect, which there's been stories that Vince was unhappy about where it wasn't meant to happen. But either way, that match, I feel, should not have happened because they should have either had Brock win at SummerSlam or just finish at WrestleMania. The fact they pushed it this way, it was a big match, but in my opinion, shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean, the booking of it, I can understand, and if it's going to pay off the Undertaker Brock Lesnar feud, and we don't have to see him wrestle again, then okay, I can deal with that. Is NXT competing with TNA? I don't know. I mean, they're totally different brands. NXT's on the WWE network. TNA is on a totally different network. I know they're on at very similar times, but I don't necessarily think that NXT is competing with TNA. I just think they're two products that are on at the same time that people are trying to get the idea that there's a competition. I remember when ROH TNA was airing on a Wednesday, NXT aired on a Wednesday, and Lucha Underground was airing on a Wednesday, and there were some people actually saying that this was the Wednesday night wars. And I was thinking, really? You've got the developmental brand of WWE, the third brand, so to speak. You've got TNA, which is a dying brand. You've got Lucha Underground, which is an up and coming brand, but not it's a Lucha brand. And you've got ROH, which who really gives a fuck about ROH? And it's the Wednesday Night Wars. Are you having a fucking laugh?
I think if you look at it, yes, there's a chance that NXT could be seen as something more than TNA. But as for battling it out, no, I think, as Mr. Parker said, they're separate. You've got WWE, NXT, and then you've got TNA.
Oh, I mean, think about this. Oh, the Wednesday Night Wars. The winner of the Wednesday Night Wars is Lucha Underground with 250,000 viewers, followed by TNA with 213,000 viewers, followed by ROH, you can barely hit 100,000 viewers, and followed by NXT, and because we don't know how many viewers they've got. We know they're popular on the WWE Network, who have like 1.5 million subscribers or whatever. Some Wednesday Night fucking war that is. Anyway, yeah, that's another Q&A. We'll be back next week with another Q&A. And from me, Mr. Parkin, this guy sitting next to me, NJ.
What's up?
I will say goodbye and I'll let NJ outro us.
Thank you very much, people. We enjoyed this video, so please, please, please continue to support us by liking this video and leaving any questions you do have in the comment section below. And please, please, please tune in for the future videos.